In 1925, the Giants brought the NFL to America's biggest city. But despite posting a respectable 8-4 record and having a roster that featured the great Jim Thorpe, the Giants had trouble attracting fans to their home games in New York's famed Polo Grounds.
The Giants were very lucky if they got 10,000 people to watch a professional football game. In fact, they were, I think, $40,000 in debt when the season was coming to a close.
In an effort to boost attendance, the Giants tried to acquire Red Grange, the country's most popular college player. There was just one problem.
Grange had already signed with Hallis with the Bears, but he did get an agreement with Hallis to come in and play an exhibition game in the Polo Grounds, and it was a huge crowd and was a huge success.
When the Bears came out there on the tour with Red Grange, there were more than 70,000 people who showed up, paid to get into the Polo Grounds to watch Red Grange play. This really established the sport of professional football in New York City. And with that, they, in fact, made enough money so that they were in the black at the end of the year.
In 1933, the Giants acquired All-American quarterback Harry Newman out of the University of Michigan. In his rookie season, Newman was the NFL's leading passer and was named All-Pro, and he led the Giants to the NFL championship game against the Bears. In a seesaw struggle with the monsters of the Midway, New York led 3 times before the Bears finally won the game with less than a minute remaining. The Giants' comeback fell just short, but they would exact sweet revenge a year later in an NFL championship game rematch in the Polo Grounds that became known as the Sneakers Game.
And it was a frozen field. It was in December. It was not only frozen, but it was corroded. It had been muddy and it was very corroded. The cleats would not hold at all.
Ray Flaherty was our assistant coach. He said that one year at Gonzaga, which is where Ray had gone to school, we won a game by using basketball shoes on the field, on a frozen field just like this. And he suggested that the Giants do the same thing. Well, it was a Sunday, and couldn't find a sporting goods store open in the whole city. But we had working with us a tailor named Abe Cohen. He volunteered to go up to Manhattan College and get the basketball shoes for the basketball team. So we put him in a cab and sent him up there. I think he had to break open the door to the locker room, break open many of the lockers. And he got back, I think he had about 8 or 10 pairs of sneakers.
When we came out in the second half, and some of the Bears got over there and got looking around, and they saw that we had tennis shoes on. They went over and told Hallis, "Hey, those guys got tennis shoes on over there." Hallis says, "Step on their toes with the cleats."
Almost like magic, Chicago's halftime lead vanished as the Giants ran effortlessly through the backpedaling Bears defense.
They were slipping and sliding all over. They couldn't touch anybody. Actually, runner's utopia.
Right away, we sensed something was wrong because they had good footing, and we didn't have good footing. And they started piling up yardage and getting in position, and they'd end up beating us 30-13. They just outsmarted us, I guess. That was about the size of it. It was legal. There was nothing wrong with it.
2 decades later, in 1956, the Giants began playing their home games at Yankee Stadium. And once again, they would face the Bears in the NFL championship game. In a Sneakers Game sequel, Big Blue would thrash their Midwest rivals.
And that was a game where we wore tennis shoes. You know, we wore the tennis shoes in the frozen field. The field was just as hard as a cement sidewalk, and the Bears went on with their cleats, and I think they had trouble because the ground was so hard and so slippery.
And triplets blast 20 yards down to the 2-yard line. Oh, those pretty white sneakers.
Quarterback Charlie Connolly directed an offense that rolled to a 34-7 halftime lead, then coasted in for New York's most decisive championship game win ever.
We had the best defense in football, and we had a pretty good offense. An offense that was growing up. And we had a magical season and wound up beating the Chicago Bears for the NFL championship 47-7 in Yankee Stadium. And as far as I'm concerned, that was when not only the Giants arrived, that was when pro football arrived.
It's a mighty cold day in Wrigley Field, Chicago, as the Bears meet the Giants for the National Football League Championship. It's the first title meeting between the two great rivals since New York won in Yankee Stadium in 1956.
The 1963 NFL Championship game would be the 6th time the two bitter rivals would compete for the league's top prize. The Giants got off to a good start when Y.A. Tittle connected with one of his favorite targets.
A beautiful pass to Gifford in the end zone. 7-0, New York.
But as the game went on, the Bears' defense would get the better of Tittle. An injured knee left the quarterback hobbled. He threw 5 interceptions on the day.
Tittle got hurt. We should have won that game, I thought. We all did. But he got hurt. In fact, the guy that hit him and hurt his knee was my man. And I had blocked him and knocked him down, but he got up. And he was in the process of throwing the ball, and it ruined his knee, because once he hurt his knee, the offense went down.
Y.A. had to be carried off the field, and the Giants suffered their 3rd straight heartbreaking defeat in a championship game.
And here comes Wade bursting over to score. 14-10, the Chicago Bears hang out in front to beat the Giants for the NFL championship. The end of a thrilling 4-month season.
I thought we'll let all 3 of them slip away, but I know I was so disappointed because we had such a good team and never did lose any games hardly in our own conference.
Over the next 25 years, the Bears would go on to win 7 of the 8 games they played against the Giants, with New York's only victory coming in 1969. Quarterback Fran Tarkington threw for 227 yards and 4 touchdowns in a hard-fought 28-24 triumph in Yankee Stadium. The two teams would once again meet in the postseason in the 1985 NFC Divisional Playoff game at Soldier Field. With a wind chill factor of -10 degrees, it was an eerie and appropriate setting for the renewal of a postseason rivalry that began in the NFL's ice ages. And like it was back in those days, this divisional playoff between the NFL's 2 best defenses promised to be anything but pretty. Although neither team generated much offense, the Bears took an early lead with a touchdown off of a turnover.
Bears look at good field position.
Oh, he missed it!
This is the football.
He missed
it's
it!
inside the field.
All right!
It's Sean Gale!
Well, I had an ill-timed gust of wind blow the ball off my foot. It was just bad luck, one moment, and unfortunately something that people will remember.
The win-aided score gave the Bears a 7-0 lead. As halftime approached, New York threatened to tie the game, but Chicago's defense stiffened and turned the Giants away, denying them a single point. In the second half, the Giants became worn down and weakened under the damage caused by the brutal Bears defense. As the game wound down, all head coach Bill Parcells could do was watch as his team surrendered to the eventual Super Bowl champions in a 21-0 loss that was much closer than it looked.
You have no idea how close we came to winning that game. It was basically 0-0 at halftime. I mean, I know it was 21-0 at the end of the game, and they had the best defense of all time and all that kind of stuff. We could have won that game.
They could have been had that day, but we made a couple critical errors. Critical.
The punt, a couple drop passes, a couple receivers who weren't covered in the game that I didn't see. Opportunities were there, and you realized how close to winning the Super Bowl and not winning it, how close we were.
After that Chicago loss, immediately after that loss, Harry called a team meeting in Chicago, in the Chicago locker room, and Harry made a declaration at that point in time that we weren't going to wait for the offseason, that the preparation for us becoming eventual champions begins right now. Everyone would dedicate themselves going forward that we were going to get ourselves over that hump. I think that everyone that was on that team will tell you it was the obligatory turning point in our history of becoming champions.
Although that loss would sting for quite some time, the Giants would exact sweet revenge just 5 years later. The 1990 NFC Divisional Playoff game between the Giants and Bears would be the 8th time the two teams would meet in the postseason.
And we've got a brilliant sunshiny day for the Bears and the Giants. Two old rivals going back as far as any two teams in the National Football League. And they play old-fashioned football.
New York would be led by Jeff Hostetler, their backup quarterback, who took over late in the season when starter Phil Simms broke his foot in Week 15. And O.J. Anderson, their backup running back, who was not quite dressed for the occasion.
I made the mistake of putting on my practice pants because they looked like my game pants. Had my ankles taped, had my shoes taped on. So for me to get totally undressed to start all over, I said, I'm not going to do it. I'm going to keep on my practice pants, and the chances are I'm not going to play anyway.
While Anderson sat waiting patiently in the wings, Hostetler was revved up and ready to go from the game's first snap.
To go in that game, to take that first snap against Chicago and go across the line of scrimmage and look at Singletary, and first play of the game, seeing those big eyes and saying, wow, they really are that big.
Hostetler showed no signs of fear as he came out on fire, completing his first 5 passes, and the Giants raced out to a 10-0 first quarter lead.
Hostetler's looking for receiver right, looks left, throws end zone deep, Baker! Touchdown!
What a call in the corner of the left end zone.
Hostetler's quick start had the Giants' offense rolling, while Big Blue's defense sent the Bears reeling.
Takes the handoff, goes to his right side, has Gentry drop the ball, stolen by Collins, intercepted, he goes to a 35-yard line, and the Giants have the ball.
Late in the first half, the Bears were knocking on the door, but the Giants' defense stepped up with a goal line stand for the ages.
The ball is a half foot away from the goal line. 4th down, Giants leading 10-0. Handoff, must have stopped.
What a play!
John Washington.
Yeah, Washington sneaking through, stopping him at the line of scrimmage.
The Giants' defense won the battle at the goal line, but they were about to lose their starting running back.
Hampton got about 3.
Rodney get hurt, he comes over and he tells me first. He said, something wrong with my leg. I'm like, what do you mean something wrong with your leg? He said, my shin is, it's bothering me. He said, it hurts real bad. And then I heard him say, Rodney broke his shin bone. He got broken. I'm like, what do you mean he broke his leg?
And the early report is, Pat, that he has a fractured fibula.
So Ray tells Bill right away, Rodney is out. Bill says, give me OJ. I'm going, what? Me? I got on the wrong pants. That's the first thing that came to my mind. I'm not dressed right. I'm getting ready to go into a Chicago Bear game where we need to win. I said, holy jeepers. I said, well, let's go.
With OJ in the backfield, the Giants' offense didn't miss a beat, and they quickly extended their lead.
Hostetler turns, rolls left, looking, throws, end zone. Touchdown!
The Giants gambled on 4th down 4 times, and each time Hostetler moved the chains.
In trouble, runs away from the tackle, runs toward the sideline, runs, he turns the corner. First down!
Hostetler's mobility enabled the Giants to keep scoring drives alive until a weary Bears defense finally cracked under the constant pressure. And on New York's final score, it was Big Blue's backup running back who made the key block, paving Hostetler's way into the end zone for a game-clinching touchdown in the Giants' first playoff win since 1986.
Come on, man. I ain't throwing no game. I'm too tired to throw game.
They said the Giants were dead.
Hey, they said we're done, baby.
Hey, I don't understand them.
They stuck a fork in us and said we were done.
Hey, San Francisco, they're back. We're back.
They're back.
We're very predictable around here, and today I think you would have to say we were a little less predictable. We were still very predictable, but we were a little less predictable today.
And the superstitious Coach Parcells would have a clear message for OJ.
Bill called me to the front of the plane. He said, "Do I have to tell you?" I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "Do I have to tell you?" I said, "What?" He said, "Freaking, you better wear those pants."
In the 1990s, the Giants and Bears would meet 4 more times, with each team notching 2 hard-fought victories. In 1992 at Soldier Field, Phil Simms threw for 220 yards and 2 touchdowns in a 27-14 victory. The following season, the Giants once again beat the Bears on their home turf. Led by Lawrence Taylor, the Big Blue defense sacked Bears quarterback Jim Harbaugh 4 times, while Phil Simms delivered the game-winning touchdown in the final minute of play.
Fakes to Anthony, throws a pass. Complete touchdown of Buck.
In 2000, the Giants won their 3rd straight game at Soldier Field. The defense once again stifled Chicago's offense, sacking Cade McNown 3 times and holding the Bears to 200 yards of total offense in a 14-7 slugfest. And in Week 13 of the 2007 season, Eli Manning orchestrated a furious 4th-quarter comeback, leading the Giants to a 21-16 win on their way to a Super Bowl championship.
Manning back to throw, has time to the end zone, touchdown Giants!
Handoff throws, he's going to run right, he's going to bounce to the outside and walk in for the touchdown.
In 2010, the Giants hosted the Bears in brand new MetLife Stadium. At halftime during a nationally televised game, the Giants paid tribute to the organization's greatest and most influential figures by unveiling the inaugural Giants Ring of Honor. Ahmad Bradshaw put the Giants up early with a hard-earned touchdown run.
To the goal line and fight for the touchdown!
And the defense did the rest, recording an amazing 10 sacks and holding the previously unbeaten Bears to a total of 110 yards of offense.
Cutler's going to get sacked again back at the 39-yard line. Cutler's going to get sacked, stripped, ball loose, still batted around and finally recovered by the Giants at the 29-yard line. Cutler steps to his left and he gets sacked again back at the 12. Justin Tuck is under pressure, avoids the sack, and then Umanura gets him at the 34-yard line. Sets in the pocket and he's going to get sacked by Tuck. Ball is loose. Back to throw. He's going to get sacked by Cofield back at the 38-yard line with Tuck. 3rd and 10. Tuck gets the sack back at midfield. Number 10 on the night for the Giants. The final score, the Giants 17, the Bears 3.
The 2010 thrashing at MetLife Stadium was one of the most satisfying victories in the Giants' long history with the Bears. And it's a rivalry that will continue to produce epic games and lasting memories for years to come.
Hey Giants fans, Alec Ogletree here. If you want to be the first to see Giants videos, subscribe now.